Good afternoon. Welcome to the 26th Annual White Coat Ceremony at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. My name is Carrie Tom, and I am the Associate Dean for Student Affairs. To those here at the Hippodrome today and to those tuning in remotely, we are so delighted that you have joined us for this important and exciting event. Celebrating milestones such as today always brings me so much personal joy. And as we pause in the celebration of these milestones, I feel it is important to start with some purposeful gratitude. I am so truly privileged to do the work I do each day. Every year around this time of year, this ceremony reminds me to pause and to reflect on my own personal journey, and along with it, the privilege of caring for others. For me, to work alongside amazing colleagues and staff with a shared passion for education and mentorship is another joy. We are so grateful to have the opportunity to get to know the students in the class of 2026 this week, and we are ready to educate, mentor, guide, support, and serve them throughout their journeys. Today's ceremony is a time of celebration in which we will recognize the hard work and accomplishments that have led to this moment for your student. It is also an important milestone in which your student will be welcomed into the noble profession of medicine and to the School of Medicine community. Additionally, this is an opportunity for them to reaffirm their professional commitment to becoming the clinically excellent and compassionate physicians they aspire to be. Throughout today's program, we hope that you, family members, friends, loved ones, guests, will come away with a greater understanding of and appreciation for our medical school, as well as the joys and challenges the class of 2026 will face during this phase of their medical education journey. Without question, your support will be critical to their success, and we look forward to partnering with you in supporting your student. At this moment, I'd like to take the time to recognize our generous sponsors for today's events. Presenting sponsor, the Whiting Turner Contracting Company, and sponsor of the stethoscopes that the students will receive today, the alumni of the Medical Alumni Association at the University of Maryland. Thank you both for supporting this program. I would also like to recognize the Medical Family Annual Fund. This is a fund that benefits students in so many ways throughout their time in medical school, and contributions from that fund have helped to make this day special as well. You'll hear more about the Medical Family Annual Fund later in today's program. As I get us started, I would love to share a few facts about our medical school to provide each of you some context for your students' learning environment. The School of Medicine was established in 1807 and is the 5th oldest medical school in the United States. It also is the first to open a hospital for the Institution of Residency Training Program in 1923. The School of Medicine was the founding school of the University of Maryland, and today is an integral part of the 12-campus university system of Maryland. Here at the School of Medicine, our community includes close to 3,000 faculty members, and over the course of their medical education, your student will have the opportunity to interact with many of them. Many of these faculty members will have an impact on your students' experience, and they will influence their future careers in a variety of ways. Some faculty members will be remembered as effective teachers or exemplary role models. Others will play important roles as academic, professional, personal mentors, offering critical career advice and guidance. Several faculty members are here today in the audience to join in the celebration of this white coat ceremony as your students start their careers in medicine. Many of them will also have the opportunity to stay briefly for the reception afterwards, and we hope you take this opportunity to chat and get to know them. Guests, you should take great pride in your students' accomplishment of gaining admission to our medical school. We've been bragging to them all week, but now is our opportunity to share with you about how significant the competition was for them to even gain a seat here. From over 6,000 applications, the Office of Admissions interviewed 537 students and matriculated 145 into this year's class. The class of 2026 is composed of 62% women, 62% students of color, and 19% of students who identify as LGBTQ+. 71% of the students are Maryland residents and have joined us from 58 different colleges and universities. We are indeed so fortunate to have a large pool of qualified applicants for the seats in each class. Each of the students in the class of 2026 has certainly earned their spot here, as you've just heard, and we know that they are more than capable of succeeding in medical school and achieving their goals. Since our founding in 1807, so much in academic medicine has changed, but we are still guided by some of the same basic principles as our founders: dedication and commitment to the highest quality education, research, and clinical care. And indeed, we feel it is one of our most important responsibilities here at the School of Medicine to educate the next generation of physicians, scientists, and other allied health professionals. As your students, the students in the class of 2026 are the third to enter our new Renaissance curriculum. And in this curriculum, our dynamic community of scholars, physicians, and scientists aim to actualize the Renaissance physician. Your students will graduate as lifelong learners who are clinically excellent, who possess humanism, professionalism, scholarship, leadership, critical thinking, and attention to social justice and diversity. And we take our charge in this education and development very seriously. As we know, our students will be responsible for changing patients' lives, shaping communities, and influencing the world in which we all live. Educating, mentoring, and encouraging them as they become physicians is both a professional and a personal joy that we all value here at the School of Medicine. As your students navigate the next 4 years, we hope they do so knowing that they are not taking this journey alone. Peers, faculty members, staff, family, friends, you are all along for the ride. The assistant deans and I in the Office of Student Affairs, along with our colleagues in the Office of Medical Education and the entire educational leadership, are here as their advocates and mentors, aiming to promote personal and professional development, to assist in navigating their challenges and opportunities, and to foster wellness and a sense of community. We are each committed to serving the students and helping them be the best they can be. I personally am looking forward to seeing each and every one of them grow into bright, compassionate, and competent physicians. And so our ask of you today is to please encourage your student to get to know us, to take advantage of any of the resources we have to offer. And importantly, if you find your students are coming to you and they seem to need guidance, please just remind them that the Office of Student Affairs is their home away from home. Dr. Mark T. Gladwin, who is listed as our speaker next in your program, will actually be giving remarks following our student procession. So at this time, I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Joseph Martinez. Dr. Martinez is a friend and a colleague, Associate Professor of Emergency Medicine and Medicine, and our Associate Dean for Medical Education and Student Experience. He'll be giving us an overview of the House Advisory System and what you can expect from the first year of medical school.
Thank you, Dr. Tom. A few years ago, a medical student came into the office and they sat down and they said, medical school is really, really, really hard. And you know, there's some truth to that. While no individual day in medical school is particularly difficult, the totality of the medical school experience is very challenging. But one of the other things that you've probably seen on television shows and movies in the past is the first day of medical school when all of the students are assembled in a lecture hall in front of a stern-looking dean, and the dean says, look to your left and look to your right. One of you will not be here at graduation. And I want you to hear very publicly that that is not the philosophy of our medical school. Your students were chosen, as Dr. Tom said, from a very competitive pool of applicants because we really and truly and firmly believe that they possess the qualities that are necessary to become the next generation of physicians. And we are committed to helping them get to that spot and graduate and become our next group of wonderful Maryland alumni. Now, we're also, as you're about to hear from Dr. Allen, committed to getting them to graduation as well or as close to well as they were when they got here and to medical school. We had a town hall a few years ago, and one of the third-year students was trying to be encouraging to his second-year classmates and said, you know, I'm getting to the point where I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And one of our brave second-year medical students stood up and said, why does there have to be a tunnel? And we really took that to heart. It took us a few moments to sort of understand the message, but we took that to heart, and we really, as we were designing the Renaissance curriculum, really decided that there shouldn't be a tunnel. Now, it's not possible to eliminate all of the stress of medical school, and honestly, it's not desirable to eliminate all of the stress of medical school, because medicine as a profession inherently has stress, and we want to help our students get acclimated to that and learn how to deal with that so that they don't burn out later in life. But we can try to eliminate some of the unnecessary stresses of medical school, and so we were really intentional with some of our policies and our procedures and our initiatives about trying to minimize some of that stress. And one of those initiatives I want to talk to you about today is called the House Advisory System. So in 2015, the House Advisory System was born, and when your student was agreed to come to our medical school, they were all sorted into one of 4 houses. I know, very Harry Potterish sounding, I understand. And these houses are not physical houses, so they're not dormitories, they're not fraternity houses or sorority houses, but through the generosity of the Medical Family Annual Fund, we were actually able to renovate some spaces within the medical school to make beautiful rooms for each house. So the students can hang out with students from other classes, have a place to decompress between classes and just relax and sort of recharge themselves. So within each house is led by a senior educator, someone with a proven track record of being dedicated to medical student education. And then within each house, again, are 8 core faculty members, all of whom have chosen to volunteer their time because they believe passionately about the importance of medical student education and wellness during medical school. Each one of those faculty members is assigned a cohort of students, 5 students from this year's class, 5 second years, 5 third years, and 5 fourth years. So they have a cohort of around 20 students. And those students then can all mentor each other. The mentors then are a built-in support system for your students during their time here in medical school, as are the other members of their house and their house mentor group. And through the generosity of the Medical Family Annual Fund, we're able to actually use some of those funds to sort of supplement the mentors so that they're able to do activities with your students during their time here in medical school. So sometimes the mentors will, buy them coffee or take them out for lunch or dinner, since they can't always come home for a nice home-cooked meal. And sometimes they do fancy things, like I think some of our mentors have done an axe throwing competition with their students, and one mentor I think did an escape room. All these things that just add a little bit of joy to their time here in medical school and help them to regain some of that wellness. So the House Advisory System has been really successful during our time here, and I'll be honest, it took a little bit of a dip during COVID. And so now that we're learning how to live with our COVID pandemic, we're really looking for the House system to revitalize this year and counting on your students to help us do that. So that's just one of the initiatives that we have here at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. We're truly excited to meet your students, to educate your students, and to see them navigate their journey to becoming the excellent physicians that we know that they're going to be. So with that, to hear a little bit more about some of our wellness initiatives, I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Dr. John Allen, who's an assistant professor of medicine and the assistant dean for student affairs, and one of our wellness champions within the medical school. He'll be talking to you about the importance of maintaining wellness during medical school. So with that, Dr. Allen.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. To all the families and friends here today, and to everyone joining us remotely, I'm incredibly happy to share this moment with you and celebrate this major milestone in our students' lives. It is wonderful to see such a gifted group of students joining the class of 2026. And to everyone who played a role in supporting these amazing people, job well done. Having the honor to meet the class of 2026 has given me so much joy and makes me genuinely excited for the years to come. As I was reflecting on today's ceremony, I couldn't help but think of how lucky I am to be an alumnus of this program and to be able to help teach and mentor the next generation of Maryland's physicians. I know that for our students, receiving their white coat today is a dream come true. The white coat ceremony is a time-honored tradition that symbolizes our students' entry into what is arguably the most noble profession. During the next 4 years, they will grow into competent and skilled physicians. Their journey requires an extraordinary amount of hard work and dedication, and as we all know, the stress of the journey can be significant. When you consider our students' work ethic, compassion, and devotion to the care of others, it is not surprising they may sometimes feel compelled to place others' needs ahead of their own. This can even manifest in the preclinical years as they attempt to learn as much as possible for the sake of their future patients. I'm here today to tell you that our mission, and the mission of everyone at the School of Medicine, is to help our students maintain a healthy perspective as they achieve their goals and ensure they take good care of themselves along the way. We want our students to thrive in their time here at the University of Maryland, and I want to take a few moments today to discuss ways we can all support your students in the coming years. One of the favorite parts of my job, and the job of all my colleagues, is to help coordinate wellness initiatives for our students and to connect them with any of the resources they need to protect their health and well-being throughout their career as a physician. This is particularly important in our current climate, which has created unprecedented challenges for everyone, particularly those of us embarking on our medical education. We recognize that even in normal times, studying to become a physician can potentially be an isolating experience. In a room of high achievers, your student, at times, may feel like they're the only one having difficulties keeping pace with the material, feeling stressed before a big assessment, or grasping a new concept. Please continue to offer your love and support as you check in with your student. Encourage them to be kind to themselves, maintain healthy expectations, and ask them to utilize the many resources available at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. If they do not know where to turn, please encourage them to come to the Office of Student Affairs, where we spend our days helping our students navigate the medical school process, be their best selves, and achieve their goals with any support they may need. Additionally, offering your love, support, and friendship will be fundamental to their ongoing success. Like many things in life, it takes a village to raise a successful physician. This year, our development office and the Medical Family Annual Fund will be publishing a wellness handbook to help provide all our students' families with additional resources, practical advice, and a general roadmap of how to keep your student in good health and excellent spirits. Keep your eyes out for that in the coming weeks. Additionally, the Medical Family Annual Fund provides many opportunities for our students and has been supported by medical families since 2004. We're pleased to share this video with you, which will provide more information about this important fund, along with comments from some of the many medical families who have generously donated to it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Schaefer, proud parent of Annika Schaefer, who is in the class of 2025 at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. I currently serve as the Medical Family Annual Fund co-chair, along with my wife, Joy. The Medical Family Annual Fund was started in 2004 by medical family members like us to support and strengthen our medical students' education. Since then, more than $400,000 has been contributed to this fund. Wow. Joy and I donate to this vital fund because we know that our contributions are being used for student-centered projects and programs that impact medical students daily. This is important to us because we know this is enhancing Annika's training and experiences, which will make her a better physician and researcher. Today, you'll hear from some other medical family members who have also chosen to support their medical students with gifts to the Medical Family Annual Fund. There are so many good reasons we are all making this philanthropic priority each year.
A medical student's education would not be complete without the important events that mark significant accomplishments during the years they are in medical school. Gifts from medical families to the Medical Family Annual Fund are used in part to support some of these special days, such as the White Coat Ceremony. As you observe this year's White Coat Ceremony, no doubt you are proud to watch your student receive their first white coat, a constant reminder of their duty to their patients and profession. It is a very moving ceremony held at the beginning of a medical student's educational journey. The University of Maryland School of Medicine remains steadfast in its mission to provide an outstanding education to the next generation of medical professionals. We're grateful to the medical families who stand with us and their students to advance that mission. Thank you for your philanthropic support of the Medical Family Annual Fund.
My daughter, Dr. Taylor Douglas, graduated in 2017 and will soon be coming back to campus as a fellow. My wife, Tracy, and I are so proud of her. When Taylor was in her first year of medical school, we were pleased to find out there was a way in which we could make a difference in the student experience for Taylor and other medical students. As an educator myself, I know that classroom and study spaces are extremely important. With our gifts to the Medical Family Annual Fund, we were pleased that they were able to make upgrades to the classroom, lounge, and kitchen spaces that the students use. When students have dedicated spaces for them to study, to do group projects, or just unwind, it helps them to really be able to focus. We are pleased that Taylor received an excellent medical education at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. We are also grateful that our ongoing annual gifts are being used appropriately to support medical students now and in the future.
This spring, our daughter Olivia LeBeau will be graduating from her 4th year of medical school at the University of Maryland. The way I see it, going into medical school is sort of like going into a hardware store. What you're hoping for is that you have an issue and you want a diagnosis of that issue and a treatment from someone that knows more than you do about your problem in a place like a hardware store. Medical school is a lot like that. You got to go find a mentor, some peers. You got to find instructors, professors, doctors that help you through. At the University of Maryland, the Family Medical Annual Fund supports all of those people that support your kids while they're transferring from student into doctor. We sure hope that you will provide your help towards this fund so that they can have mentorships that will give them lifelong learning, that they will give back to the community, back to their universities, and provide care for all the people throughout their careers.
When our daughter Ashley graduated from the University of Maryland School of Medicine in May this year, it will be a lifetime achievement for her. As parents, we of course are very proud of her. We try to encourage her throughout the 4 years to make her outstanding accomplishment a reality. Keeping our line of communication open with her was so important to us to make sure we could be there for her on the days in medical school that could be so overwhelming and tough. Donating to the Medical Family Annual Fund was just another way we found we could reinforce her educational journey. We were pleased to hear that the student-centered wellness programs are supporting through this fund. Over the years, some of our donations have been used to purchase meals for the medical students after important exams, something that students forget to do as they are so focusing on studying. The Medical Family Annual Fund donations have also been used in recent years to create a medical student wellness guide that is being sent to the medical families at the beginning of their students' first years. This guide provides information about the school, the curriculum, and introduces important faculty members. But it also explains the student journey and provides resources for them and us as the parents so we can all be involved with the wellness of our medical students. Ashley and us have benefited from the wellness guide as well as the wellness program. We are glad that Ashley went to a medical school where she was valued as a person whose skill will help others in the future. We are also glad to continue to support the Medical Family Annual Fund of the Maryland School of Medicine with our donations in the future. Thank you.
With all we have heard today, it is no wonder that the Medical Family Annual Fund is supported by so many medical family members every year. Our students benefit from our philanthropic contributions. So, no matter what you donate, we'll put your gift to work today. The next step is up to you. Can we add you to the long list of Medical Family Annual Fund donors this year? The link to donate is found on the screen below. Or you can call the Office of Development at 410-706-8503. Tell them Joy and Steve sent you. Thank you.
It is now my great honor to present the University of Maryland School of Medicine class of 2026, led by Dr. Donna Parker and our student marshals. Dr. Parker is a professor in medicine and the Senior Associate Dean for Undergraduate Medical Education. Our student marshals today are Ave Kiefer and Bhakti Panchal. Avi is our class of 2025 president, and Bhakti is our class of 2025 vice president. And of course, now you may clap. It's totally okay to clap for your family and friends when they come by. This is indeed a momentous occasion, and of course there is some gravity into welcoming all of the class of 2026 into this noble profession. But at its heart, it's truly a celebration. So let's please give a round of applause to our students and welcome the class of 2026. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Mark T. Gladwin, Vice President for Medical Affairs at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, John Z. and Akiko K. Bowers Distinguished Professor, and Dean of the University of Maryland School of Medicine. This is Dr. Gladwin's 5th official day on the job, as he has just assumed the position of the 31st Dean of our School of Medicine. He joins us from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine, where he led the Department of Medicine, founded the Pittsburgh Heart, Lung, Blood, and Vascular Medicine Institute, I want to make sure I didn't forget any of that, and served as Associate Dean for Physician Scientist Mentoring, as well as Associate Vice Chancellor for Science Strategy, Health Sciences. We are very happy to welcome Dr. Gladwin to the University of Maryland School of Medicine and to our community. Dr. Gladwin.
So you get an amateur. Well, good afternoon. Hello to everyone here in person and to everyone tuning in online. A special welcome to the medical students. We're so proud of you. So for the last 2 years, we've had an excess of 1,000 more applicants per class than 2 years prior. As you didn't hear, because you're outside the room, you all competed with more than 6,000 people for these 145 seats. So why are so many more people interested in a career in medicine? To me, it's clear that the COVID pandemic has realized an epiphany. What we do in our academic medical centers and our medical schools matter. A life of service, embracing humanism, medicine, and science matters. This also tells us how competitive it is that you are all sitting here today. You and your supporting family and friends are special. In fact, you're elite. As you'll hear me say over and over the next few years, I strive for our public university School of Medicine to be elite in every way, but never elitist. You all have grit and resilience, discipline, intelligence, but you're also humanists, confronting challenge with integrity, grace, and compassion. You do not simply accept this current world order, but want to step into the trenches and correct healthcare inequity and fight for social justice. And above all, you want to make a difference and make a positive impact on our imperfect world. To paraphrase Walter Isaacson, the author of Steve Jobs' biography, you're here today to put a dent in the universe. These are the values that we look for in our students at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. So I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about the transformative experience ahead of you. We touched on this briefly Monday. What are the generational challenges that you are going to face serving on the front lines of our academic medical center in the next few years and for your career? Generational challenges. When I think of generational challenges, I think of the paradigm-changing effect of the HIV/AIDS epidemic when I started in medical school in Miami in 1991, sitting in seats like those. Miami was at the epicenter of the pandemic. The disease targeted an incredibly vulnerable and stigmatized population, men who have sex with men and Haitian immigrants. I cannot understate the broad stigmatization of our patients with many physicians at that time even refusing to take care of patients with AIDS. There was real fear among the healthcare community, mostly driven by a lack of knowledge of transmission and limited therapies, reminiscent of the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. As a student, I had 3 needle sticks. It was terrifying. There was no cure for the disease, and we knew so little about real exposure risks at that time. You'd be surprised to know in those days there wasn't latex gloves outside of our patients' rooms. But then something amazing happened. We witnessed a triumph of enlightenment, compassion, and science over a horrible disease. Advances in epidemiology helped us understand the real risk of transmission. The cause of AIDS was discovered, a novel retrovirus that infects and kills our immune T cells, with major discoveries by our own Dr. Robert Gallo. A critical virulence factor called the protease enzyme was characterized, and structure function studied allowed for highly successful therapeutic targeting of the protease, one of the first highly potent antiviral therapies. Myriad phase 1 to phase 3 trials were conducted, which advanced discovery to patients, and major public health interventions embraced in a bipartisan manner brought these therapies to patients. These advances were carried out even in the poorest nations through the PEPFAR program, which was our government's effort to combat HIV, and the largest global health program devoted to a single disease, saving millions and millions of lives. So what are your generational challenges? Number 1, Ebola, influenza, SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that caused COVID-19, and now monkeypox, have made it abundantly clear that we live in a warming, overpopulated, highly connected world of emerging pathogens. In addition to these zoonotic infections, which are viruses that jump from animals to humans, we have the rapid emergence of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. You will be physicians and scientists at the front lines confronting these challenges at the scientific bench and the bedside and in direct patient care and policy. 2, climate medicine. This is an entirely new field that you'll create. 3, the aging epidemic. For the first time in the history of humanity, 3 years ago, 2 lines crossed. The number of people worldwide that are over 65 is more than the number of people under 5. You're going to have to deliver new ways of caring for this vulnerable, aging population. The cardiovascular and metabolic effects of the Western diet. This is driving epidemics of weight gain and diabetes nationally. Often referred to as the obesity epidemic, this is having a similar impact to that of cigarette smoking after World War II. 5, the addiction epidemic in all its devastating forms. 6, the awesome challenge and opportunity surrounding computation, big data, information technology. These technologies are disrupting and changing the practice and delivery of medicine overnight. And finally, the COVID-19 pandemic is wreaking havoc in medicine today. After all major pandemics, for example, the 1918 influenza pandemic, there are classic waves of secondary disruptions. Economic disruptions, which today are creating major nursing shortages in our hospitals, waves of other diseases that have been neglected, like broad childhood vaccination or cancer screening. And then mental health challenges, overdoses, suicides, and gun violence affecting patients and health caregivers. In Baltimore, we've suffered more than 700 shootings and 300 homicides. Each of these individuals has a name, has dreams, has a mother that loves them, who will never recover from that loss. Nationally, for the first time this last year, in the history of America, more children died of gunshot wounds than automobile accidents. So what's the emotional toll for healthcare givers confronting these challenges? I was deeply moved by a perspective that was written by Jacqueline Heilman, a surgical resident at Jefferson Health in Philadelphia, and published last year in the summer in the New England Journal of Medicine. In Philadelphia, they've had more than twice the shootings and deaths that we've seen in Baltimore, with 500 homicides, reflecting a 50% increase in shootings since before the COVID-19 pandemic. She tells the story of a boy brought into the trauma bay with a gunshot wound to the chest, still conscious and crying, "Help me, help me." And she watched him stop moving, saying to herself silently, "Don't leave, don't die, we're here." But they couldn't stop the bleeding. He had an 8-centimeter hole through the right atrium and a 10-centimeter hole through the posterior inferior vena cava. 10 centimeters is the span of my hand. She felt inadequate. As a surgeon, she was supposed to be able to stop the bleeding. She left that night to the locker room and noticed she was soaked in blood to the skin. She drove home and called her sister for consolation. And I want to share her direct words that she wrote because they're so eloquent. She wrote, "Over the course of the 6-week rotation, I was involved in 7 emergency thoracotomies in patients with gunshot wounds. It was difficult, but over time I found peace in the quiet after each procedure concluded. I gently closed the patient's empty eyes, covered their bodies, and sutured. Somehow, in making that closure perfect, while I thought about their 2 short lives and the loved ones they left behind, I felt that I was honoring the victims. Looking back now, I think that maybe in choosing to take on the task of approximating the skin, I was really trying to put myself back together. I had been changed by what I'd seen, and I knew it. I spent time coping outside of work by painting a picture of that first boy. I let myself feel the pain again with each stroke of scarlet paint across his body. I wanted others to know about these violent deaths. I wanted people to know what I'd gone through, what I'd seen. I wanted them to understand it on a deeper level than the statistics that they read in the newspapers. As I attempted to tell people around me, however, I realized it was too heavy, too painful. It made them uncomfortable. My brother, an Army Ranger who was recently returning from deployment overseas, pulled me aside, and he said to me, "We signed up for jobs where we see horrific things so that those we love don't have to see them." And then she continues, "Later, I recounted the gory details of my rotation to one of my attendings, a senior trauma surgeon, explaining how angry and frustrated I was. 'This is not what I signed up for,' I told him. And he answered, 'Yes, you did,' he assured me. 'You just didn't know it.' This is a calling. These are your generational challenges now as servant leaders. We are really going to need your youth, vigor, your dedication to learning and self-improvement, your innovation, and above all, teamwork and leadership to tackle these great generational challenges. And when those days are hard, and they will be hard, you're going to be part of our family. And as I shared with you earlier this week, we hope you're going to work hard to embrace your vulnerability and ask for help and support from me, from us, for your family, from your friends. We're all supporters in this mission that you will lead. So in the final minute, let me talk about the symbolism of the white coat you're about to wear. So to me, the white coat symbolizes a calling. A calling is more than a job. It's a sacred embrace of service, optimism, and humanism. We will feel and experience and do everything we can to make that positive dent in the universe. Embarking on a career in medicine can allow a person to fully engage humanity in the most ennobling ways, drawing on the humanities, drawing on sciences, and even business. Donning your white coat symbolically indicates your entrance into a sacred and ancient fraternity that will mark the rest of your lives in a way that no other occupation can. And for the parents, I spoke to some of you over there earlier, I've probably given you a heart attack, and luckily the hospital's down the street, and I apologize. I also have kids. I have a 17, a 19, a 21-year-old. They change their age every year to confuse me. So I know how passionately we love our kids, and we want to show them love and support with every ounce of our beings. And while we're never going to stop nurturing them, we also must let them go. I assure you they will change, but they're always going to to maintain those values that we'll model and that you've always modeled for them. So I think as parents, we have to understand that they will now largely carry this weight of experience with their new peers and mentors. They'll have to learn to understand real consequence in an imperfect world. So my advice is hold tight and let them go. They're now for the ages. And to our medical students, who I hope have a deeper understanding of the calling of the white coat, Godspeed on your rarefied and consequential journey as servant leaders. And I apologize for going a little long, Dr. Parker. And I now have the great honor of introducing Dr. Walker Robinson. He graduated from the University of Maryland School of Medicine class in 1970. He's our new president of the Medical Alumni Association. He served as a pediatric neurosurgeon on our faculty from 1976 to 1997. He's also served as a pediatric neurosurgeon on our He's also served as a neurosurgeon in the faculties of Seton Hall Medical School, University of Illinois, and Carle Illinois College of Medicine. Dr. Robinson, it was an honor to meet you on my very first day as dean, honoring our African American alumni at the National Medical Association meeting in Atlanta. My trip there reflects my deep respect for your trailblazing legacy in medicine and how indebted we are for your leadership. Thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me, I'm the new president of the Medical Alumni Association of the University of Maryland. On behalf of the 8,500 living members of the association, I welcome this class to the alumni family. Your association will be standing alongside you during this journey, supporting you, as noted by the dean and others. You had your first interaction with us on Tuesday in historic Davidge Hall. Today, you'll be donning your white coats and given a stethoscope provided by the Alumni Association. Many of you are recipients of scholarships also provided by former members of the medical school. Throughout the course of your education, there'll be staging events and activities to make your experience at Maryland a memorable one. One thing that is for sure, there'll be challenges coming up in the next 4 years, and we have no doubt that you'll meet them head on and succeed. If there's anything we can do to help your journey, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Our next speaker is Class of 2023 Secretary Margot Huffman. Margot graduated from the University of Maryland College Park in 2018 with a Bachelor of Science in Biology, and she is planning to apply for a residency position in obstetrics and gynecology this fall. Margot, welcome.
First, I would like to congratulate each one of you. It takes an incredible amount of hard work to get to this point, and you should be so proud of this accomplishment. To me, the white coat represents an opportunity and a responsibility to provide compassionate care for patients in what may be some of their most vulnerable moments. It's a commitment to truly listen to your patients and to be 100% present with each one. When this kind of patient-centered care becomes your focus, you will begin to experience the moments that remind you why you started this journey in the first place. Like beginning to see the personality of your patient who was previously in septic shock and unresponsive. Like when your 16-year-old patient who had a stroke after an accident slowly begins to communicate again using sign language that she was learning in her high school classes. When your patient discloses to you that she had been sexually assaulted and how it's impacted her life. Or more lighthearted interactions, like a patient at the VA who told me the story of accidentally interviewing for his first job out of the service with a snot rocket all over his dress shirt. Or the pediatric patient who says her favorite colors are glitter and sparkles. We not only have the unique honor of getting to know our patients and being invited to participate in some of their highest and lowest moments, but we also have the opportunity to care and advocate for them. In wearing this white coat, patients will begin to recognize you as their provider. This can be very exciting, but also a bit nerve-wracking for any medical student. A phrase or mindset that I've found helpful during my medical school experience is, "I'm not here to be right, I'm here to get it right." Medical school can be really challenging at times, and I've made my fair share of mistakes. But we're here to learn and improve. We're here to learn from our patients, learn from our peers and mentors, and ultimately grow into excellent physicians. And I'm confident that each of you have the ability to grow into excellent physicians. So focus on getting to know the person behind the medical diagnosis. Lean into the emotions that come with those experiences. And remember that no one expects you to be perfect. They just expect you to show up each day, eager to learn and passionate about providing the compassionate care that your patients deserve. Congratulations again. I'm so excited for the journey ahead of each of you, the incredible experiences you'll have, and all the ways, big and small, you will impact the lives of your patients. I would now like to introduce our next presenter, Dr. Sarah Smallsley. Dr. Smallsley is an assistant professor of medicine. She is also the medical director of the Center for Infectious Disease and the Thrive program of the Institute of Human Virology at the School of Medicine, which provides primary and specialty care for approximately 2,500 people living with HIV. Dr. Smallsley was selected to speak today by the medical student members of the Gold Humanism Honor Society because of her commitment to caring for the underserved and dedication to medical student education. These students noted that she creates an intellectually challenging yet supportive environment for students and exemplifies humanistic medicine through her fierce advocacy for her patients. Please welcome Dr. Smallsley to the stage.
Thank you. I'm honored to have been asked by the medical students to share my thoughts on humanism in medicine today. When I'm on rounds with a team of students, residents, and fellows, I often can be found jumping up onto a soapbox, railing against a broken medical system and a broken world, and advocating for system change and for compassionate care for patient groups that are typically marginalized by society and by our medical system. So that's what I'm going to do today also, in a roundabout way, starting with a social justice service learning trip I participated in college that will bring me to some advice that helped me think about approaching social justice work, medicine, and life, and that I hope may help you also. I traveled to Nicaragua for the first time in 2003 with a group of other college students, professors, and a physician, Dr. Don Steckschulte. A former student had launched this twice-yearly trip in 1999 following a devastating hurricane that destroyed entire communities in an already deeply impoverished country that had also recently suffered a civil war funded by the US government. The trip was deeply moving and educational for me, witnessing people living in abject poverty, unsanitary conditions, without access to adequate food, clean water, or medical care. I'm sure others have had similar experiences. The trip included other students and faculty and a host organization already deeply involved in and aware of U.S. Central American politics, global health, and social justice advocacy. I learned more about humanity in a week there than in my prior 20 years. I remember feeling completely overwhelmed and helpless in the face of such ongoing suffering, thinking, what is my part in fixing this? What is my responsibility as a human and as a future physician? How can I possibly make a difference when up against countless systems of oppression and injustice? During these trips, our groups traveled around in an old, beat-up, too small, questionably road-safe miniature school bus. There was a tradition where volunteers were invited to add a message to the inside roof and walls of this bus the night before the trip ended. You could spend the entire week craning your neck to read years of wisdom scrawled there and not come close to even getting through it all. There are many quotes from this bus that I photographed and jotted down over the subsequent years, but one has stuck with me that applies to that feeling of being completely and utterly overwhelmed. It's a quote by Arthur Ashe. "Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can." Those words really resonated with me as I began to explore how any single person can try to be impactful. I got involved in more social justice causes in college and after, and Dr. Dawn Steck-Schulte became a mentor to me, showing me firsthand what it was to be an advocate for social justice as a physician. As you've heard from other more eloquent and upbeat speakers today, becoming and being a physician is a great honor and privilege. You absolutely will learn more than you ever thought could be crammed into your head. You'll make lifelong friends here, and you'll take on the responsibility of the white coat in the next few years. But you'll also learn it's really, really hard to be a doctor. You probably all have a sense of this without having an exact grasp on the details yet, but it's true, and it's still worth it. You'll be overwhelmed 1,000 times in the next year, and every year after. In medical school, how can I learn all of this before the test? Should I sleep, eat, shower, or study right now? I urgently need to do all of these things. In intern year, you'll be terrified the first time you order a medication for a patient, even if it's an over-the-counter medicine that you've taken yourself before. You'll meet patients with a disease you've never heard of. You'll be the first person to get the call about true life-threatening emergencies, a patient with a massive blood clot in their lung, a stroke, a heart attack. And invariably, you'll be overwhelmed, frozen in a state of indecision. So my advice is this: start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Start where you are. You have the knowledge, and if you forget it in that moment of terror, you know exactly where to look it up. The first steps don't have to be big either. I can take 30 seconds to breathe, remind myself I've learned about this, think through the options, and know that I have the resources I can use, including a resident or attending physician a phone call away. The same applies to less critical medical situations. Use what you have. On a team of other trainees and physicians with much more experience, medical students often feel that they're in the way, thinking that they're too inexperienced to have something to offer. But what they do have to offer that I may not is a lot more time. A student can sit with a patient for longer, providing comfort, listening to their worries, and believe it or not, finding out critical information about a patient's life or medical history that changes the trajectory of their care. While the extra time that a medical student has fades quickly, what we all have in all of our careers that's free and lasts forever is kindness. Many of the patients that I care for in the hospital are living with HIV or have infectious complications of injection drug use. When students start the rotation, I tell them to remember that many of these patients come from vastly different backgrounds with vastly different opportunities and life experiences than we've likely had, and to approach everyone with kindness, empathy, and no judgment of their circumstances. And it turns out it's not so hard to win patients over this way with this approach. Treat addiction as a medical and mental health diagnosis, which it is, rather than a moral failing, which it is not. Find out what the patient's most pressing needs are and address them. Commiserate with someone's struggle. Acknowledge unfair circumstances in their life. Fetch a cup of water for your patient or get them a blanket. Listen, apologize, do what you can. Aside from simple acts of kindness, sometimes this means you have to push back on convention, reminding others of the best way to approach a patient or their illness, or advocate for a change in the system. And you will be your patient's biggest advocates, especially if they're in a medically marginalized group. Often, doing what you can is not the medical care that you give, but in showing compassion and in pushing for a more compassionate system. Taking that awkward step up onto a soapbox and gently pointing out our system's faults so that we can all move forward together. Because where you are, what you have, and what you can do, you'll find is pretty extraordinary and can be pretty impactful. Thank you. I would now like to invite Dr. Kristen Powell-Rivas to the stage, who will be introducing our next presenter. Dr. Rivas is an assistant professor of family and community medicine and the assistant dean for student diversity and inclusion. She's also the co-faculty advisor to the School of Medicine's Student Diversity Council, which includes representatives from several School of Medicine student groups that each focus on student diversity and inclusion, and aims to enhance communication on diversity issues between students, faculty, and administrative staff, as well as among the student interest groups represented on the council. Dr. Rivas?
Thank you, Dr. Smallsley. I am happy to introduce the class of 2025 student Gurbani Singh. Gurbani graduated from the University of Maryland College Park in 2021 with a Bachelor of Arts in Gendered Studies and a Bachelor of Science in Biology. Gurbani will be speaking today on behalf of the Student Diversity Council. She currently serves as the Vice President of the School of Medicine's Women in Medicine group, which encourages the personal and professional growth of women in healthcare and addresses the unique issues experienced by female physicians. She is also the president of the School of Medicine's South Asian Medical Student Association, an organization dedicated to creating cultural unity among students and raising awareness of healthcare issues affecting South Asian communities. Gurbani.
Class of 2026, congratulations, you did it. Your years of pre-med classes, hours of clinical work and research, volunteer roles, and perseverance have landed you in the seats you are sitting in today. This seat today was made for no one else but you. And now you are about to receive your white coat and embark on a crazy, beautiful new chapter of your life. Exactly 1 year ago today, I was in the position you all are in today, receiving my white coat. I was so excited to put the crisp, white-colored coat on and begin my journey through medical school. Well aware of my accident-prone nature, I'm happy to say that today, my white coat is still in fairly good, unblemished condition, only having been through a few minor stain scares. However, throughout my first year at UMSOM, I came to realize that although our coats are this clean, white color at superficial appearance, they actually symbolize and hold a beautiful, rich, colorful blend of diverse experiences, interactions, and values. And it is this colorful amalgam that provides each of us personalized meanings for why we wear our coats. I had the privilege of becoming involved with several student organizations throughout my first year. Two in particular, the Women in Medicine group and the South Asian Medical Student Association. My involvements within these organizations, as well as my varied interactions with the amazing faculty and students here, have provided me clarity as to why I personally choose to wear this white coat and embark on my pathway to become a physician. I wear my white coat to remember and learn from the racist and sexist mistreatment that marginalized women such as Henrietta Lacks endured right here in our city of Baltimore. Henrietta Lacks, a young African-American woman, traveled to Johns Hopkins in 1951 to seek treatment for her cervical cancer, during which a sample of her tumor cells were taken by medical researchers without proper consent. Without the knowledge of her or her family, these cells were then used to develop the first immortal cell line and effectively change the course of medical research. The story of Henrietta Lacks, along with several other unethical cases throughout history, represent the horrific exploitation of minority communities that has created a culture of distrust and inequality within our medical system. My coat reminds me of the history that our city and medical institutions were built on, which we must learn from in order to ensure the provision of ethical and sensitized care to our future patients. I wear my white coat to represent all the women in this country who endure the scary and dehumanizing reality of not having full autonomy over their own bodily rights. With the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade, a woman's right to make informed decisions about her own body and health has become threatened, a right that is not just crucial for a woman's health, but also for maintaining a more racially and economically just society. Restricting this right disproportionately impacts Black women, who already have a 3 times higher maternal mortality rate than white women, as well as other minority groups who have historically had lower average incomes and endured overwhelming obstacles in accessing affordable reproductive health care. My coat reminds me that we cannot stay silent and that we must fight for the health, freedom, and human rights of our patients. I wear my white coat to support the female physicians that endure the unique challenges that come with balancing motherhood and caregiver responsibilities, along with their professional aspirations as healthcare providers. As the presence of women in breadwinner roles becomes more prevalent in society, and as powerful female physicians continue to rise in the ranks within the medical field, it is essential that they are provided adequate maternity leave and supportive resources without suffering negative occupational ramifications or receiving unjust treatment relative to their male counterparts. My coat reminds me that this equality must be protected and respected. As I continue my journey through medical school, I hope I can continue to add more colors and facets to my coat and truly understand what it means to practice inclusive, non-discriminatory patient care. As all of you start your own journeys today, I encourage you to reflect on the multitude of interactions you have and the breadth of knowledge that you attain, and make note of the intricate colors and meanings your coat begins to take on. That being said, congratulations once again, class of 2026, and I wish you the best of luck in this new chapter of your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurbani, and actually all of our amazing speakers today for so many profound, insightful, and inspiring words and messages for our class of 2026. Prior to today's ceremony, students were each asked to describe what the white coat means to them in one word. We've heard from a few faculty members, but we wanted to hear also from our students. Before we begin the presentation, as you can see behind me, we're sharing a word cloud displaying the thoughts of the class of 2026. For those of you watching virtually, you can also view this word cloud at medschool.umaryland.edu/whitecoat. As you can see from what we have up here, the white coat indeed does have a lot of meaning to each of us in medicine, as well as our class of 2026, representing important values which they will demonstrate throughout their time in medical school and through their future careers in medicine. In a few minutes, we will begin calling our students to the stage for the presentation of the white coats. We'll just go through a few housekeeping issues. Their coat will be placed on them by one of the faculty members representing their house. After being coated, students will walk across the stage and then will sign next to their name in our honor registry, which will be assisted by Mr. Larry Petroff, Executive Director of the Medical Alumni Association. The Alumni Association, who we've heard a lot about today, has graciously provided this beautiful leather album for each class of students to sign as an affirmation of their code of honor. The book comes out of Davidge Hall specially just once a year, specifically and only for this purpose. And again, it's one of the many ways in which the Medical Alumni Association supports our students and programs over their 4 years here. The name of each student in the class of 2026 was inscribed into the registry by a class of 2025 student, Cami Lingenfelter. Thank you, Cami. Students, before you exit the stage, you'll also be receiving a stethoscope donated by a School of Medicine alumni, along with a personal note from the donor. Again, thank you for the Medical Alumni Association for these generous gifts. I'd like to now ask Dr. Norman Retner and Bhakti Panchal to please come to the stage. The stethoscopes and notes will be given to our students by Dr. Retner, who is a faculty leader for our Practice of Medicine course, which fully integrates clinical skills into our Renaissance curriculum with lectures, small group sessions, simulation, and bedside teaching. He is Assistant Professor of Medicine and Assistant Dean for Longitudinal Undergraduate Medical Education. And Student Marshal Bhakti Panchal will also be assisting Dr. Retner in the distribution of stethoscopes. You may assume your position. At this time, I would also like to invite Dean Gladwin and Dr. Donna Parker back to the stage, as well as Dr. Mary Claire Rogman and Dr. Nirav Shah. Dr. Rogman is the director of our MD-PhD training program and is the Associate Dean for the Physician Scientist Training Program. Dr. Shah is the Office of Medical Education Liaison for our Eva Dodge House. Students, pretty soon, in just a moment, you'll be called up to the stage in groups, beginning with our Eva Dodge House students. Your student marshal, Ave Kiefer, will instruct you on how to proceed and proceeding one aisle at a time, so please follow her direction. After you are coded, please note that you will next be greeting our faculty and signing the honor registry. Then please step off the stage to have your photo taken, back on the stage to collect your gifts. After you receive your stethoscope and note, then you may use the stairs to return to your seat. I now invite our Student Affairs Liaison for Eva Dodge House, Dr. Elizabeth Lemos, up to the stage. Dr. Lemos is an associate professor and the assistant dean for Student Affairs. She will introduce our first set of coders, and she will call our Eva Dodge House students to the stage. Dr. Lemos.
Will Dr. Laura Buchanan, Dr. Rebecca Cray, and Dr. Devang Patel please come to the stage? And now we get started. Renad Al-Habashi, Tariq Antar, Enat Ayele, and you can feel free to cheer for all of them. Richa Baher, Elsa Bjornlund, Juan Boy. Una Cho, Adil Chowdhury, Laura DeRavin. Kirgan Daughtry, Magdi Il-Ghanam, Nicole Flegel. Charlene Gomez, Paul Hanna, Fatima Hidalgo. Juan Ives, Pooja Karandikar. Taylor Koloski and Ryan Lashkari. I'd like to thank Dr. Patel and Dr. Cray, and now invite Dr. Ann Hackman and Dr. Gentry Wilkerson to the stage. Ethan McCaslin, Brooke Merchant, Bulutife Ologunju. April Park, Flor de Maria Quiroz Morera, Andrew Schwartz, Melissa Sierra, Adam Stumbler. Ai Tarui, Alexis Vitak, Liana Weinstein. Aiden Wiley, Claudia Wong, and Gregory Zappis. Thank you to our Ava Dodge House faculty. I'd now like to invite Dr. John Allen up to the stage. Dr. Allen is the Student Affairs Liaison for our Julius Friedenwald House, which will be presented next. Congratulations, Ava Dodge.
Ooh, that was close. Please welcome to the stage our Julius Friedenwald House head, Dr. Brian Brown, along with our coders, Dr. Kristen Powell-Rivas, and Office of Medical Education Friedenwald House Liaison, Dr. Philip Dittmar. Dr. Rogman will also be presenting white coats for our Friedenwald House. Nana Amponsa Opoku, Olivia Bobik, Sarah Bayo. Isaac Bedaharan, Gabriel Breezy, Terrence Camacho. Anna Christu, Douglas Cooper, Shiva Jaljukarani. Aaron Foster, Serena Hanfling, Josiah Hardy. Lorena Hong, Adam Yashok, Lena Kierbeck. Dewan Kim, Hema Konduru, Nicholas Leahy. Serena Meni, Anastasia Miller, Alexander Noonan Shu. Grace Paget, Hirul Patel, Melissa Rallo. Nisarg Shaw, Bhumi Solano, Jared Thomas. Carol Toledo, Gabrielle Voigthofer, Robert Wigman. Caroline West, Zachary Wilhelm, Danielle Yee. Your buttons. It's all right. Jason Zhao, Giselle Zuniga. Thank you to our Friedenwald House coders. We will now present white coats to our Lois Young Thomas House students. Please welcome Dr. Carrie Tom back to the stage. Dr. Tom is the Student Affairs Liaison for the Lois Young Thomas House.
Dr. Allen. This time I'd like to invite Dr. Connie LeCap, the Office of Medical Education Liaison for our Lois Young Thomas House, to the stage, along with our first set of coders for LYT, Dr. Rebecca Brown, Dr. Kelly Moyer, and Dr. Priya Sundarajan. Elise On, Cameron Amini, Alam Ashkar. Caitlin Ballinger, Kavina Barunchi, Jerry Bolin. Bruce Chen, Maggie Chen, Ashley DeLeon. Simon Daskalling, Jennifer Fang, and Aria Garzan. Afnan Jimmy, Nina Hazra, and Matthew Henschel. Clarice Hu, Philip Corey, and Hannah Kim. I would like to thank Dr. Brown and Dr. Moyer, and now invite Dr. Douglas Mayo and Dr. Christopher Welsh to the stage. Ki Jung Kwok, Desiree Lahano, Harrison Mayo. Kylie McKee, Timi Luluwa Okusalubo, Liliana Peterson. Cyrus Razavi, Anahita Shiva, and Julian Starks. Harry Summers, Mary Ventimiglia, Catherine Vasilishin, Raphael Wirtz, and Kate Wilsey. Justin Wing, and Anna Zamora. Thank you to all of our Lois Young Thomas House faculty. And I'd now like to invite Dr. Marissa Flaherty up to the stage. Dr. Flaherty is the Student Affairs Liaison for our Mario Garcia Palmieri House, and also Assistant Professor of Psychiatry and Director in the Office of Student Affairs.
Thank you, Dr. Tom. Please welcome our Mario Garcia Palmieri House Head, Dr. Christina Lau, and Office of Medical Education Liaison for the Mario Garcia Palmieri House, Dr. Joseph Martinez, to the stage, along with our coders, Dr. Nidhi Goyal, Dr. Preeti John, and Dr. Leah Milstein. MGP. All right. Leila Abujama, Andres Alcalde, Claire Ascenso. Shania Bailey, Alexandra Berger, Vishwanath Bedapudi. Sarah Case, Lane Cavey, Davina Chatterjee. Abigail Corkum, Anthony DiMartino, Han Dewan. Hannah Frederick, Jake Friedman, Oveis Hassan. Isabella Horton, Zachary Keepers, Lena Corey. Jake Kim, Cassidy Lavin, Kendall Malashevsky. Jason Marinelli, Helen Nguyen, Rose Pagano. Jennifer Paul Quinn, Nicholas Randolph, Nwal Shams. Arjun Sharma, Amir Tokipash, Annie Trang. Christine Wan, Alexander Welsh, Denise Y. Matthew Wilhide and Caroline Yee. And that concludes the presentation of the white coats. Congratulations, class of 2026. And while we wait for everybody else to sign the very important book, I'd like to now invite Dr. Philip Dittmar back to the stage, along with our volunteer student code of honor readers. Dr. Dittmar is an assistant professor of medicine and director of the clinical curriculum, medicine clerkship and medicine sub-internship directors, as well as the director of the third-year practice of medicine course.
So this is the fun part, where we take some photos, get some stethoscopes, and sign some books. So we're going to let all the students process through this part. In prior years, the book signing was the rate-limiting step, but we've moved on to the photos. All right, I think I've been given the signal. So thank you to Dr. Flaherty. It's great to see you all. We will now prepare to read the Code of Honor. To celebrate the diversity of the class of 2026, several of our first-year students have volunteered to read a portion of the Code of Honor in their native language. If any of our readers have not yet come up to the stage, please come up and join Ms. McCartan to line up just off stage. I think we're ready to go. The Code of Honor was written by our University of Maryland School of Medicine chapter of the Gold Humanism Honor Society and is reviewed annually to align with the values and goals of our current medical students. Recitation of the Code of Honor represents the public acknowledgement by our students of the responsibilities of the profession they have chosen to enter and their willingness to assume such obligations in the presence of family, friends, and faculty. Students, it is our hope that each of you will remember this day and this oath as you venture forth on the path to a career in medicine, and that you will live by the words you speak today. After each of our volunteer readers recites their portion of the Code of Honor in their native language, I will be reciting the same portion in English. The words will be displayed on the screen as I recite them and can be found on the second to last page of the program. Readers, when you're ready, I think we're all ready to go. Okay. I now invite the students and faculty to stand and recite the Code of Honor along with us in English or your native language. Our first reader will be Sarah Bayo reciting in Albanian.
Si një studente e mjekësisë, gjithmonë do kem në mendje që jam një pjesë thelbësore e një skuadre që punon për të ofruar kujdesin më të mirë mjekësor. Do kem në mendje të jem modeste, pranuese ndaj kritikave, e hapur ndaj ideve ndryshe nga të mijat dhe të jem e sigurt në aftësitë e mia për të bërë një impakt pozitiv. Dalloj që të gjithë duhet të kenë një zë, sidomos pacienti.
I will always remember that as a medical student, I am an essential part of a team working to provide the very best patient care. I will remember to be humble, receptive to criticism, open to ideas that differ from my own, and confident in my ability to make a positive impact. I recognize that all must have a voice, especially the patient. Kavina Berangi, Uganda.
Neeyama okussa ekitiibwa mu balwadde bange, nja kukuuma obwesigwa obunkwasiddwa ng'omujjanjabi. Neeyama okulabirira abalwadde bange n'abantu baabwe nga bwe nandirabiridde abaagalwa bange bennyini.
I will respect my patients. I value the trust placed in me as a caregiver. I will care for my patients and their families as I would my own loved ones. Charlene Gomez, Spanish.
Reconoceré que estoy en una posición especial para impactar directamente en la vida y el bienestar de mis pacientes, y abogaré a mis pacientes en sus nombres. Entiendo que la salud de mis pacientes va más allá de los síntomas de su enfermedad y está íntimamente relacionada con su bienestar social, económico, espiritual y emocional. Entiendo que esto es una gran responsabilidad.
I will recognize that I am in a unique position to directly impact my patients' lives and well-being, and will advocate for my patients on their behalf. I understand that my patients' health goes beyond the symptoms of their disease and is intimately connected with their social, economic, spiritual, and emotional welfare. I understand that this is a great responsibility. Shiva Deljukurani, Farsi.
ایجاد اعتماد از طریق تماس چشمی، لمس و گوش دادن فعال به اندازه ابزار در دست یا هر گزارش پزشکی که خواهم نوشت قدرتمند است. من به روابط محترمانه با بیمارانم احترام خواهم گذاشت.
Establishing trust through eye contact, touch, and active listening is just as powerful as any tool in my pocket or order that I may write. I will honor the confidential relationships I share with my patients. Tuan Bui, Vietnamese.
Khi đến với mỗi phòng bệnh nhân, tôi sẽ mang lại sự ấm áp, đồng cảm và thấu hiểu về những khía cạnh phức tạp của sức khỏe và bệnh tật. Tôi nhận ra rằng gặp gỡ mọi bệnh nhân là một hình thức trang trọng và có khả năng tạo ra sự thay đổi nhận thức cho họ.
With every patient room that I enter, I will bring warmth, empathy, and an understanding of the complexity of health and disease. I will recognize that meeting with patients is a formal and potentially transformative experience for them. Do-won Kim, Korean.
의학의 필수적인 요소는 교훈이다. 나는 내 인생에 모든 교육자들에게 감사를 표하고 따르는 사람들에게 돌려줄 책임을 존중할 것이다.
An essential component of doctoring is teaching. I will show appreciation for all the educators in my life and honor my responsibility to give back to those who follow. Nisar Shah, Gujarati.
મને જુનિયર વિદ્યાર્થીઓ અને આરોગ્ય સંભાળ ટીમના અન્ય સભ્યોને શીખવાની તકો મળશે અને હું મારા દર્દીઓ અને તેમના પરિવારોને શિક્ષિત કરવા માટે સમય કાઢીશ.
I will find opportunities to teach junior students and other members of the healthcare team, and I will take time to educate my patients and their families. Justin Wing, Mandarin.
我将永远是一名医学生，致力于终身学习。我将不断寻求进一步提高我的医学知识，并主动积极运用和发展。
I will always be a student of medicine, committed to lifelong learning. I will continually seek to further my knowledge and to take initiative for my own education. Raphael Verts, French.
Cette blouse blanche est le symbole du serment que je prête aujourd'hui et que je maintiendrai à vie. Il représente mon engagement à servir mon prochain et me rappelle aussi le privilège de pouvoir prendre soin d'autrui. Même quand je ne porterai pas ma blouse blanche, j'incarnerai toutes les valeurs qu'elle représente.
This white coat is a symbol of the oath I am making today to carry out for a lifetime. It represents my commitment to serve and reminds me of the privilege of caring for others. Even when I am not wearing my white coat, I will embody all of the values that it represents. Thank you to our readers. You may return to your seats. And now please welcome Dr. Tom back to the stage.
Thank you all for being a part of today's white coat ceremony for the class of 2026 and making today special. As we adjourn, our students, your student marshals will lead you back up onto the stage for a class photo. Family, friends, faculty members, guests in the audience, you may proceed out of the theater, and to your left, there'll be a light reception with some sweets and refreshments in the lobby area. Your students will be joining you soon after the photo is over. If you need some swag, The class of 2025 has set up a table in the reception area where you can purchase School of Medicine attire, which you can wear, and then people can ask you about it, and you can tell them about your wonderful students and all they're going to accomplish in 4 short years graduating as physicians from the University of Maryland School of Medicine. The proceeds to that swag will go to the class of 2025, which supports class social functions throughout their time here, and your students will be doing the same for the class of 2027 next year. So once again, let's do a huge round of applause and the celebration of the class of 2026. Thank you all for coming. You may go out and enjoy the reception, and as mentioned, your students will be with you shortly.